Now I'm going to have you use your imagination a little bit here. I have Adam, and this is going to represent a traditional SQL database server. Now, one of the most complicated and confusing things about SQL is that it's a type of relational database, and it's a language for uploading and downloading information from that database. So you create databases with the command create, you create tables with create, you upload information with insert, and you download data with select. So it's strange in almost every way, at least in my opinion. And if you're studying computer science, one of the things you have to learn is how to code it. So in a typical server, you'll have a prompt that looks like this, probably, for MySQL in this case. And if you want to create a database, in this case we're going to create a database called Spotter2, because I actually have another more serious train spotter application in the works that's simply called Spotter. But to keep things simple, we'll go Spotter2 all the way here. And then you hit return and you have it. It exists. But then to set it up, you have to use Spotter. Or use Spotter2, rather. Excuse me. Full name of the database. Then you'll go to the shell. Now, these little things here, these are my fake prompts, basically, to show what it looks like, because I don't actually have one of these things. So then you put in MySQL, the host name, localhost in this case, the user, well, -u to represent the user, because it's a MAMP project, it's still root. There isn't a proper username. And then you have to put in -p, but confusingly the name of the database then. Because actually what you're doing is you're asking the shell to ask you for your password. And then it will say, enter password. You will not say this. Rather, the server will. It'll be a prompt. And then you have to put in your password, which would probably be root again, because we're talking about a database which would not be open to the public internet at this stage of development. Now, once you have your database running, then it becomes a matter of setting it up. So you would say if you have another MySQL prompt, or sometimes some of the systems have no prompt. Actually, there's a shell or command prompt or whatever you want to call it in MAMP that lets you put in SQL without any additional hassle. So if I were entering code into MAMP, it would be create table. Actually, the specific tool that you would use within MAMP is a web application called PHP MyAdmin, and we'll see how that works later in subsequent videos. And there I've created my primary key. So my ID number, which will be an integer, of course, not null, so it won't start from 0, it'll start from 1. It'll auto-increment from 1 up. And then this indicates that the ID will be the primary key, which is almost irrelevant in this case because this database is deliberately oversimplified for this project. So it won't be normalized. and there will be a lot of duplicate data. Obviously, in a professional setting, you want to take anything like, say, locomotive manufacturer or locomotive model, which will be reused, and put them in other tables and access them via foreign key. So then the primary key becomes absolutely vital. But I'm putting it in just because it's good practice in case you want to normalize later on. So that's our first column. And now the next column. Actually, one good practice, don't capitalize. ID. That's important. So road number, I mentioned it should really be a varchar because it might have a checksum in it. And then this is a little limit on the number of digits. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have this. I mean, you could make it 10, you could make it 255, you could make it all kinds of things. Typically, a locomotive road number won't go over 8 digits if you count checksum of a hyphen and a single digit after 6 digits for a really, really long road number. But I'll put that in there. Actually, another thing I'm forgetting, comma, comma, comma to separate your commands. So then reporting marks. Reporting marks would definitely be varchar because you might have the and symbol in there and so on. Typically, though, you won't have more than 5 reporting marks, otherwise they're not really reporting marks. I want to discourage people from putting in the whole railroad name. So that's that. Location. I'll give them more freedom in this case. Varchar 255. Because, you know, they might want to get elaborate. Date. Data type date, where is there, because there is such a thing in SQL. That will only be the size of a date, so there's no need to put a limit for the length in there. Manufacturer. Manufacturer, let's see. That should be a varchar. Trying to type with one hand here. Varchar 255, because it won't be more than that. And then the model. Varchar, definitely. Again, 255, comma, and then year built. Integer, even though it's a year, not an integer. Just for convenience's sake, we'll use integer. And then comments. Text. We'll say 1024. Because it's not supposed to be super long, but at the same time you want to give them freedom to, you know, give some basic comments. Or if you wanted to, you could say 2056. If you really want to give them freedom. And see, then you would enter that into the database, and you would suddenly have all of your columns. It's basically as simple as that. And if you wanted to upload data to each of those, you would use the insert command, but that will have to be in the next video.